Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Gyawali, a medical oncologist and an associate professor of oncology at Queen's University, Kingston, Canada. And welcome to this very first episode of our podcast series. We have named this Grounded in Groundshot. So I guess you get a flavor of what our podcast is going to be like. And in the future episodes, we'll be inviting guests, people in oncology that I hugely respect. What the goal is that by listening to these conversations, you can get some inspiration to do better work, important work in oncology, or just to learn from the life of these great people in oncology. So these are the conversations I usually have with them anyway, but I thought it might be good to share those conversations with the audience so that not just me, but everybody else can benefit from listening to these conversations. And once in a while, we might also discuss about some important clinical trials. We might invite some trialists, some PI of research to discuss about their own research. So we are just starting, so let's see how it evolves. And welcome to you all in this new journey. Today, for the very first episode, I have the pleasure of inviting my own student and now my research assistant. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Claire Diana. I'm, as Dr. Gyawali said, previously his student at Queen's University, and now I'm his research assistant. So, very excited to kick the podcast off with him. So yeah, we'll get started with some questions. We're just going to kind of see where the conversation takes us. But
Yeah, so for today, it's going to be the opposite. I will be interviewed. For the next episodes, I will be the one who will be interviewing others. But first, I guess it might make sense for you to know more about myself through this Q&A that Claire is going to ask me. Having said that, if anything goes wrong with the podcast, it's all her fault because she is the person behind this. So you know who to blame.
it's a good way to start.
No pressure.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
pressure at all. Okay, so I guess we'll start. I'm sure we'll have some people who are meeting you for the first time. So can you just give me an overview of who you are and what type of work that you do?
Who am I is a very difficult question to answer.
Mm.
But as a background, I'm a medical oncologist. I did my medical school in Nepal, um, which is a small, tiny country sandwiched between India and China. Um, and after my medical school, I wanted to be an oncologist. And I was looking for training opportunities. There was no formal training program in the country at that time. So I went to Japan and I did my oncology training in Japan. I also got a PhD. I returned from Japan back to my home country of Nepal. I worked there at a public hospital as an oncologist for almost a year, after which I moved to Boston. I did my fellowship at Harvard, um, after which I moved to Queen's University in 2019, and I have been here since then. And actually, this is my office, so you all can see how messy my office is.
So you moved around a lot with teaching and during your training. I wanted to ask, is there seeing a lot of different healthcare systems? Is there something that from some specific location that you pulled into your work that you're doing here now in Canada?
That's an excellent question. So the audience should know that Claire is an undergrad student who I taught. She's not even a medical student. So she's not a resident, she's not a fellow, she's not even a medical student. She graduated from her undergrad last year. So based on the questions that she's asking, you can see how smart and wise she is and why she's a part of the busy lab. That also means if anyone is watching this who is from Canada, and you have a responsibility of accepting medical students. She has applied for medical school this year. So if you are interviewing her, she's a great candidate. Um,
PSA to medical schools.
yeah,
Like,
I'd be extremely sad to lose her. I hope she gets accepted into Queens. Anyways, so as you mentioned, I have worked in different healthcare systems in the world. And of course, that has taught me a lot. And I think that has given me some insights that I would not have otherwise had. Uh, because it's not just different healthcare systems. I have worked in rich countries, highly, countries where you can almost get anything that you want, and countries where even getting classical old chemotherapy drugs like cisplatin is a big deal. Um, and the most important realization I have had is sometimes when I'm working in a low income setting, we have a feeling that, oh my God, if we had more money, we could have had access to this, we could have had access to that. But I realized that most of the problems we have in cancer care in low income countries is not actually related to money. There is so much of, I mean, wasted opportunity, as in we could do so many things with far less money than we imagine it to be. As in, when I'm working in Nepal, we are always talking about, I wish I had, easy access to, I don't know, PET scans. I had easy access to next generation sequencing for all my patients and things like that. But there is so much of waste, as in we are not doing the basics right. So we could, I mean, we can improve our cancer care so much just by fixing the small things. So that is the foundational philosophy behind Cancer Groundshot too. It's not about we need these and that fancy new things, but have we been doing the fundamentals right? If we can do the fundamentals right, there is so much we can do with even scarce resources. Um, but if we are not doing our fundamentals right, then you might have infinite resources and you can still mess up. So I guess to answer your question, yes, working in these different healthcare systems has taught me in both directions how we are doing so many things right despite having scarce resources. I talk about global oncology all the time. I taught you guys about global oncology and how it's a mutual learning process. People think that it's just high income country folks going to low income country and telling people what to do. That's not global oncology at all. That's the wrong approach to global oncology. There is so much of things that we learn from low income countries, and that was especially prominent during COVID-19, because in COVID-19 we all, our healthcare resources, even if we were working in high income countries, it became constrained because so many people were hospitalized. We did not have enough, and healthcare workers were sick themselves, so we had to prioritize, right? And I keep telling that our COVID-19 pandemic days is every day in a low-income country. In low-income country, every day we have scarce healthcare resources, scarce human resources. And during COVID-19, we were just making do with bare minimum that we can. That is the reality in low-income countries every single day. So just imagine our pandemic times. That's every day for a low income country. That means we have to prioritize all the time. So there is so much lessons that we can learn from low income countries. And even when working in high income countries, one of the projects that we have planned to work together is about prioritization of care, right? And so even in high income countries, just because you have access to everything does not mean we are always doing the right thing. We are sometimes overusing resources for without any benefit for the patient. We are overdoing things, and there is a problem with overtreatment, overdiagnosis, and sometimes huge use of uh, drugs or interventions that actually don't benefit anyone. And we are just, again, going back to the philosophy of Cancer Groundshot, we are not prioritizing our resources well. Because if you think about it, if you are spending any resource, and I'm not just talking about money, I'm talking about human resource, I'm talking about time, commitment, and everything. If you're using it on some intervention, by definition, you are taking it away from some other intervention. So, thinking having worked in these different healthcare settings, and as you know, I work for WHO as well for the essential medicine list, and we are always thinking about prioritization. So, anytime someone says drug X should be made available in this country, the first question that comes to my mind is, where is that resource coming from? Are we compromising clean water and sanitation to make this drug affordable? Are we compromising on child nutrition to make this affordable? Are we compromising on maternal health care to make this affordable? So in my mind, I'm always making those, and it's of course subjective, but I think that's a lesson that I learned from working in these different healthcare settings. You could learn this lesson on theory, taking a class, but for me, I guess it was a very subjective first-hand experience because they don't feel like an abstract, numbers on a paper.
Because
These are
you've lived
like,
for
yeah,
years, yeah.
these are like actual human lives that I have seen.
Yeah. And those experiences, I assume, kind of kick-started your, of course, like getting cancer ground shot, like terming that idea and moving from just oncology to global oncology, living in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because to be honest, I never planned on being an academician. It was never a part of my future plan. I never planned on being a researcher. I wanted to be an oncologist. I did not have any opportunity to be an oncologist in the country. So I went abroad to get training in oncology. And that was probably the first time my eyes were opened up to the world of academia or even evidence-based medicine for that matter, because honestly, like things have changed now. But while I was a medical student back home, I used to practice eminence-based medicine or textbook-based medicine. For instance, if someone asked me, what chemotherapy do you use for first-line ovarian cancer? I'd say carboplatin plus paclitaxel. And if someone asked me, why would you use that? My answer would either be because my professors use it or because I read it in a textbook. But, can you believe this? I had not read a single journal article until I graduated medical school.
It's very surprising,
Yeah.
yeah.
You are an undergrad and I have made you read so many journal
Yeah.
articles. You have critically appraised journal articles,
Yeah.
right? But I had not read a single journal article
Yeah.
until I graduated medical school.
Yeah, it's very
So I
surprising.
started reading that only during my training, oncology training. And then I was so fascinated. I got so attracted by the whole idea. It was very empowering. So for the young people out there, evidence-based medicine felt so empowering because I came from a culture of very strict hierarchy in medicine and respecting your seniors, which is important, and respecting your professors and just practicing based on what they tell you to do, to the world of evidence-based medicine, where a new drug is coming up in oncology, and it's based on a clinical trial, and that clinical trial is published in a big journal. And now my professor and me, we are reading the exact same paper. So there is no reason why if I have enough skills to correctly read a trial and to correctly interpret the data, both of us are in the equal footing, right? My professor is not higher up in the hierarchy because it's a new drug. It's the same for him. He has never used it. I have never used it. We are reading about it for the first time in the article, and it felt very empowering. As in, now I can trust myself. I can be my own sensei. I can be my own teacher. So that idea, so from a strictly hierarchical medical experience to the world of evidence-based medicine, where my knowledge about a new drug and my professor's knowledge about a new drug would be exactly the same, or I could even have better knowledge if I spent more time and read more about it. And I'm supposed to practice based on the evidence. That felt very, very empowering. So I was extremely attracted to that idea. So I started to uh, devote more time into learning the tricks and trades of evidence-based medicine more and more. And simultaneously, other good thing that happened was it was just the era where social media was expanding into the world of medicine and oncology. And I started to get active in social media. I started to read other people's ideas. I started to throw out my own ideas. And then suddenly the whole world felt like a small village, in that I did not have to rely on my local mentor anymore. I could reach out to any person in the world, and I could get, I could ask for advice. I could ask for feedback. We could discuss about trials. We could debate about trials. So that whole thing became such a such an exciting experience for me that I started to work more and more into that. And from social media alone, I started to go to writing blogs, to writing actual journal articles. People won't believe this now, but now I guess I have 230, 240 publications. But the first publication that I ever wrote was in 2015. So it has only been 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's not like I have been writing since a long, long time. It has only been 10 years since I first published my journal article ever. And those first 3, 4 articles were actually letters to editor. They were not even like full-length articles. But after getting involved in this, I got very attracted to the academic medicine world, the academic oncology world, the world of research. Now I forgot what was the original question anyway. And this is not a new thing for me. In the class, this happens all the
Yeah.
time. I start teaching something. Yeah, the audience should know that. I think, I don't know, you should confirm. I think I'm probably the only teacher who goes without slides and uses Blackboard and chalk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you put one slide up at the start, and it's that slide that stays for the entire class. Yeah.
Yeah, and I teach continuously for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I find it so funny. I go to conferences for invited talks,
Mhm.
and those invited talks are like 15 minutes. And I feel like it's such a waste, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
can't talk about much.
yeah, I fly to the other corner of the world, spend so many hours flying. They are spending so much money on my flights and hotels and everything. And then they are getting only 15 minutes.
Mhm.
And I feel like I can't do justice in 15 minutes. So there have been occasions where people have invited me, and I have said that, no, if I'm flying all the way, I want to give at least 1 hour. Like
Yeah.
they are asking only 15 minutes of my time, but I'm like, I'm there anyway.
Yeah.
Let me at least, give 1 hour of my. Anyway, so I teach the course, and it's a 3 hour course every week. And sometimes I get guest lecturers, but usually I want to teach myself.
Yeah.
I'm very greedy in that I want to teach the new generation, and I go without slides, or sometimes I go with a placeholder slide, as Claire mentioned. So I just put up a slide that just has the title of the day,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then I start teaching, and I never know in which direction the class goes. That's the reason why I don't go with slides. We have a blackboard and a chalk, and if the conversation flows into, I don't know, COVID-19, we start talking about COVID-19. If the conversation flows into uh, essential medicine list, we start talking about that. If the conversation goes into hazard ratio, I start making forest plots. So everything is on the go. What was the question? The question.
Honestly, I've kind of forgotten how
So
to
this is
this
exactly
one.
what happens in my class. So if you attend my class, this happens every single time. We forget what the original context was. What I was telling you, that how I got attracted to academic medicine and academic oncology, but it was never a part of the plan. My plan was to get oncology training, go back home, and treat patients with cancer. And that's what my parents wanted as well. If my parents ever knew that I was, not going to be back in Nepal,
Yeah.
then probably, they would have never let me go abroad for training
Yeah.
in the first place. But I never wanted to go abroad as well. Like I wanted, it never even crossed my mind. I wanted to do oncology training. There was no opportunity, so I had to go outside. But I went outside, and then my eyes opened up to a brand new world of evidence-based medicine and academic um, medicine, and I was very, very attracted by it. And I started writing papers, and the papers start to get published, and people started to notice what I'm doing. So, even after my training was over back in 2017, I just, as as I originally thought, I just went back to Nepal and practiced there as an oncologist, and that is what I wanted to do anyway. But yeah, things happened, and once I started practicing in Nepal, I was not as productive as a researcher and academician, because I was like a full-time clinician. And so uh, I, yeah, so I was missing that academic
Yeah.
flavor, the beauty of doing research. And I had this opportunity to do fellowship at Harvard with people who I hugely respect, like my mentor, Dr. Aaron Kesselheim, and his group. And they had a fellow position open. And I was already working with them on a different project before that, so they already knew about me, and they offered me a fellowship position, and it was Harvard, so it was not difficult for me to convince my parents either.
Yeah.
Like nobody would say no if your child says I'm going to Harvard, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's how it all happened.
Okay. Yeah, I think going back to
Yeah.
our class a bit, I think it was very different for you to just kind of get up there and chat,
Yeah.
which was, I mean, as a fourth year student, like most teachers don't do that. You follow the slides, you take notes on the slides. I found it very enjoyable because I got to know you as a person more and what's meaningful to you, and which is also what inspired me to work with you because I really enjoyed that. And one of the things that you talked about a lot and circled back to was mentorship and how important it was to you. So I think it'd be benefit to our listeners, but also it's something that I think it's important, and it's something that it was one of the motivators for me to apply to work with you. So if you could talk about maybe your approach to mentorship and why you think it's so important.
Yeah, no, I think And I guess I'll need to ask you the same question because you will be in a better position to respond because you have been on the receiving end.
Yeah.
Um, I have been on both the ends. I have been on the receiving end of, like, I have been a mentee, I have been a mentor. But I think mentorship is an often undiscussed, but probably the most important variable in the equation of a career. I have seen people's life get destroyed because of a bad mentorship. I have seen people's life get hugely elevated because they found the right mentor. And I think selection of a good mentor is probably the most important decision that you can make. Having said that, and I alluded to this before, today the world is different, as in you can have a virtual mentor anywhere in the world. Uh, but what especially matters is your day-to-day life mentor in person where you work or where you are studying, right? Because that is the person who will have the most impact on your life. That person can make your life miserable. That person can make your life happy. But more importantly, that person can give you career opportunities that will elevate your career, and that person can sabotage your career. In fact, what I can say is good mentors, there are many good mentors out there, but there are also many bad faith actors out there who have become mentors because of, I don't know, because of their seniority, but they are actually not good mentors. And it is very important to avoid them. But there are plenty of good mentors, but there are only a small proportion of them are actually great mentors. So finding a great mentor is not a very easy occurrence. What that also means is if you happen to stumble upon a great mentor, like hang on, stick with that person.
Yeah.
Don't let these people go from your life. And people of any age will need a mentor. It's not like, okay, now I don't need mentors anymore. I need mentors. I will need mentors even 10, 20 years from now. The topic of mentorship might be different. Like right now, you and I discuss about probably grant ideas, project ideas, how to make slides look more beautiful. But once you're in medical school, the content of our discussion might be a little different. Once you're a resident, the content of our discussion might be different. When you're a fellow, when you're a faculty, even when you have become a full professor, if I'm still alive at the time, you will still have things to learn from me because I have walked this path before you. So the importance of a mentorship never goes away. So if you have stumbled upon a great mentor, hang on, stick to that person. I have benefited from so many wonderful mentors. And as I alluded to before, I have also been on the receiving end of very bad mentorships. The good thing nowadays is, as I said, you don't have to rely on one person for your career. There are so many good, great people out there, and they could be working in any part of the world, and you can still benefit from their mentorship and advice. I'll tell you something very funny. When I first applied for a job, and they asked like 3 letters of reference, right? And all 3 letters of reference came from people who I had not personally worked with in person. Like some of them I had never even met in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, these were people like who we had interacted with before through email, through social media. I had published some papers with them, but I had never actually met them in person.
Really.
And they were willing to write a strong letter of recommendation for me.
Wow.
Yes, and that felt very meaningful. So I guess now I want to ask you, because you have been through undergrad course, and I guess mentorship is different in undergrad and in senior levels, because I guess for you it's more like a teacher and a student because
Yeah.
you are basically taking courses,
Yeah.
and the teacher is grading your assignments and things like that. But uh, I try to think of mentorship as more like in fact, it feels like a lifelong commitment. I do participate in ASCO, ESMO virtual mentorship programs as well. And in theory, these virtual mentorship programs are supposed to pair a mentee with a mentor for 1 year. But I still have mentees from 3, 4 years ago. Like, I don't just say that, okay, 1 year has passed now, sayonara.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still know about their life. I still know about what's going on in their profession. So yeah, I mean, if you went to a medical school in Quebec, I won't just stop talking to you,
Yeah.
right? But on your end, I guess you have seen so many different teachers, you have taken so many courses.
Yeah.
Uh, for me, I guess the good thing or the bad thing is that I never took any course in Canada, right? I have never been a student in Canada.
Mm.
So I have not taken lectures. So I don't actually have any idea how other teachers teach courses.
Yeah.
I just I just teach you or this course the way I wish someone taught me when I was a student.
Okay. Yeah.
Because my fundamental philosophy is not to flood you guys with facts. Like who cares? And I think I tell this on my very first day, which is the commonest cancer in Canada, which is the top three reasons of cancer deaths in Canada. Why need you guys to know? Because by the time you guys have become oncologists, it will be probably different
Yeah.
from what you have learned today.
Yeah.
And you can always look these things up. You don't need a teacher or a mentor to teach you facts. The role of a mentor or a teacher, in my opinion, is to inspire you guys so that you can believe in yourself, so that you can believe that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve in life, and to equip you with enough skills, especially at your level, that it's applicable no matter which career path you take, right? If you are an oncology resident or an oncology fellow, I want to equip you with enough skills to build your career as an oncologist, as an academic oncologist. If you are an undergrad, even if you go to law school, I want to make sure that my whatever I teach is applicable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is exactly, and I say law school because that's the email that I got from one of the students from Brian's batch who went to law school in Halifax.
Right.
And then he wrote me a very nice email saying that of all the courses that he took, it was my course whose lessons that he has been able to use in his law school. And
Yeah.
I would have never imagined that a global oncology and cancer policy lecture would be helpful to a lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of the for most of the classes that I've taken, I mean, probably all of them were almost exact opposite to yours. And I think it's difficult with the type of program that I was in. Like a lot of it was just look at the slideshow on your own time, and then in class it was group activities, or it'd be something like a physical science, so you have that more structured lecture. But so your class was really the first one where it was more, I guess, relaxed per se, where we're just trying to have a conversation and I'm learning things outside of whatever curriculum you've chosen. And honestly, I'm not surprised that that one student was able to use lessons from your class in law school, because I think that what I learned in your course has been incredibly useful in the oncology discipline, but also in other aspects, because I'm able to critically appraise clinical trials and, learning how to um, kind of be more critical in terms of just like the field of medicine in general. But you talked, as I said, you talked a lot about mentorship, you talked a lot about your personal values, your journey through medicine, and something that left an impact on me that I wouldn't be surprised left an impact on other people as well was you talked a lot about kind of like taking hold of any opportunities that come to you, and also not like just waiting around for opportunities, but trying new things, finding what you're passionate about and going for it, and looking for mentors. And I think that has been very impactful, because with how competitive things are right now, especially in the pre-medical field, to feel kind of discouraged. But what you were saying about, I don't know, yeah, taking hold of any opportunity that's been given to you and like putting your full effort into it and learning as much as you can and taking advantage of those people, like knowledgeable people around you. I think that's something that that's really stuck with me, that I've been striving to do more. So I think in terms of mentorship, and your type of mentorship, it's not just, oh, we're working on this project and this is the project we're doing, this is the task you need to do. Let me know if you have any questions. Like we talk about personal lives, we talk about vacations, we talk about a lot of stuff, we talk about long-term goals, and you ask me what's important to me, and I know that you're very invested in your students, and that means a lot to me. And I know that, there's expectations for me in this position, but I also don't feel nervous or anything to come to you to ask questions. And I think that's very important as a mentor as well to find that balance between having those expectations, but and letting people, grow independently, but also guiding them through new experiences, and so that later on they, have the tools to do it independently. And then, yeah, I think that's been very
Yeah,
important.
no, I
And
think you touched upon you touched upon this point, which I guess it's worth highlighting more about my mentorship philosophy. In that, yeah, you are now in undergrad, but I also have other uh, fellows and
oh yeah,
other mentee oncologists, um, and I think you have seen this firsthand. Is that my mentorship philosophy is not to be a micromanager.
yeah,
In fact, I hate micromanagers.
yeah,
I hate if my mentor is a micromanager. I hate micromanaging my mentees. Like life is too short to pay attention to every little, like, or to try to control every little detail of the process. And that's a very boring way to live life,
yeah,
right? Like if I have 10 people under my wing, I can't direct all 10 people about every little detail all the time. And so you can attest to that, like you are a fresh undergrad graduate. Brian has been with me for 3 years now, uh, and you have seen other people that I have worked with. I give, I whenever we are starting something new, I give a broad outline of the process. I tell if you are stuck in any of this process, reach out to me. Or after you have completed 20% of the work, get back to me so that I can verify. Because if things are not going right, then there is no point in spoiling the resources for 100% and
yeah,
then trying to fix it again. So after you have done 20%, get back to me and we'll try to fix it so that the rest of the 80% will be most efficient. And I tell that, okay, this is what I need by this time. Now, whether you want to work on weekends to make that happen, whether we want to work on weekdays, you want to work 2 hours this week and 18 hours next week, or I'll always tell you that if you need more people, always come to me because
yeah,
I have so many other people,
yeah,
and so I can always give you an extra set of hands. But otherwise, how you finish it, what you do, who did you reach out to get some more information, that's all up to you guys,
yeah,
right? So I think I personally I grow most when I get freedom, and I try to inculcate that philosophy in my mentorship as well. Even when teaching a course, for instance, right, like your assignments, I give very little directions. I
yeah.
just tell you guys what the broad, in broad outlines, what I expect from you guys.
Could you
But
tell no one was used to it? Everyone asking for a rubric.
yes, yeah, Claire can attest to that. Like one of the criticisms of the course that you get initially, but at the end, like everybody is very happy about it. But initially, is that I don't give too many directions about what the essay or the assignment should be like. So they are all used to getting very strict instructions. You should write, I don't know, 5 sentences about this and then 10 sentences about this. But I give very vague instructions because my point is that if, like, for example, one of your friends, what she wrote was she apparently is a volunteer in drowning prevention Canada. So she does a lot of work on preventing preventable drownings. And she wrote an essay about drowning prevention and its parallel to oncology, what oncology can learn from drowning prevention, or vice versa.
It's interesting.
Now, if I had given specific instructions, do you think she would have ever written such an essay? It was so fresh, it was so novel,
It's really cool. Yeah.
right? I have never thought about it.
Yeah.
But because I did not specify every little detail, she came up with such a brilliant essay.
Yeah.
And your essay too, your final assignment, right? You wrote about gender bias in oncology research and publications, um, which was not a rehash of all the gender bias papers that are already out there. You provided a few novel perspectives that I highlighted in your grading as well, right? Not from your batch, but from 2 years ago, one of them wrote about. I talk a lot of philosophy in the class as well.
Yeah.
So you get half of oncology, half of philosophy. So the title of her essay was "Kill the Buddha."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. And like the audience may not know the context. It's a Jain koan that says kill the Buddha, and there is different layers of interpretation to how you interpret when Buddha himself said, if you meet a Buddha on your road, kill the Buddha. And she wrote a fabulous essay. Her title was Kill the Buddha. I was intrigued what she was going to write about it because it has to be related to oncology and cancer policy. It can't be a random philosophical essay. But she tied that philosophy so neatly into oncology. I was super impressed. And I'm like, if I had restricted my students, then these things would never come up. So you should let them bloom.
Yeah.
You never know what flower is going to bloom unless you nurture their freedom. And the example that I keep quoting is there are two ways of looking at a mentorship or any, you know, relationship for that matter. Let's say you love a bird, right? Either you can put the bird in a cage and feel happy about it. You are feeding the bird, of course, every day. You say nice things to the bird is singing for you, and you're happy. Oh, I'm a great mentor. I have taken care of this bird. Maybe this bird would have died in the wild if I was not there. I'm feeding him every day. He's singing for me. You can feel happy about it. But my philosophy is I'll let the bird fly. I won't put it in a cage. I'll open the door of the cage. If the bird stays there, even when the door is open, that's the bird's choice. But I let the bird fly, explore the world, spread its wings. And if my mentorship was genuine, real, then the bird will keep coming back to me. You know, like not forever to stay in the cage, but it will explore the world, come back to me, share what it has learned. If when flying it got hit by some stones or someone attacked it, and I hear about it, I'll tell the bird like what you should have done differently, or whether you know how to avoid it in the future, or if the bird found some great experiences, I'll feel happy with the bird. But the point is not to case the bird. The point is to let the bird fly. If my mentee does wonderful things, if my mentee does things that I would have never been able to do. That is my definition of success. Like we talk about endpoints all the time. So for a mentor, what should be the primary endpoint? Like for me, the primary endpoint of the how you define success of a mentor is if the mentee went beyond you in their career growth. Yeah. Both should happen, A and B. And B, but the mentee never ever forgot the value of your mentorship and stayed grateful to you, because sometimes the mentee can go beyond you despite the mentorship, not because of the mentorship, right? And but if it's a true mentorship, then the mentee will be successful in their career, but also will always remain grateful to you for whatever mentorship you provided to the mentee that was helpful for his or her career. And so I guess that is how, and I alluded to this before. Sometimes, I have had all types of experiences. So my goal as a mentor, when I am in my mentor's shoes, is always to make sure that my mentee will 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, even after I die, there will be a huge crowd of my mentees, a generation of my mentees who will look back upon their time with me as one of the most useful, productive, helpful, happiest times of their lives, and try to become that type of mentor themselves, so that there is a legacy of I don't know, BG Labs mentorship.
Philosophy that I'm passing it down. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And so far that's so I've only been here, what, 6 months? Has it been 6 months?
6 months as my RA, 4 months as my student.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Since January, almost 11, 12 months.
Yeah, it's almost a full year. But so far, yeah, I feel that.
Thank you for qualifying it by saying so far. Yeah, things can change anytime. Yeah.
Goes. But so far, I do feel that like I would like to become the type of mentor that you are right now.
He has a conflict of interest.
Yeah, I need to come to work. Okay, I'll pivot a bit because I did want to touch on this. I learned in class that you're also passionate about physics.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask if that's something that you have always been interested in, because Maybe you've touched on it before in class, but I can't remember kind of when that
Being a
started.
doctor was not my first interest. I had no interest in medicine to begin with. I was deeply, deeply interested in physics. And I was very clear, I wanted to do theoretical physics. I'm not very good with skills, as you can say, right? I don't even make good PowerPoint slides. Like skills, yeah, it does not come to me naturally. Any skills, I don't dance, I don't make PowerPoint slides well. So that's why I'm not a surgeon. I'm not in any surgical discipline. Medical oncology was the best fit. But I did not even want medicine. And even in physics, I was very clear. I did not want to do any experiments. I loved thinking.
Yeah.
So I was very confident that I was going to do theoretical physics. My plan was to do theoretical physics, become a scientist. My role models were Einstein. Um, since my early childhood, he influenced me so much. And Feynman. Yes, and I think, yeah, surely you're joking, Mr. Feynman is a book that I keep recommending to your class as well. Not because it has anything to do with oncology, but why I was fascinated with physics is A, because of these role models, but also B, I wanted to figure out how the world works, why things are the way they are. And I'm also a very philosophical and I guess you could say a spiritual person in that I keep thinking about the meaning of life and our role on earth, and asking these questions about why, as in, why am I here? Why do I exist? What will happen after we die? Uh, and in my profession as an oncologist, I'm facing life death situations almost every day, right? So it keeps me thinking about uh, what happens after, why we are here in the first place, and all those questions, but also about the existence itself, like why is there something instead of nothing? There is an option for the universe not to exist, right? Why is there a universe to begin with? And is it just a coincidence that all, let's say the value of universal gravitational constant, 6.67 times 10 to the power of minus 11, whatever. So it had to be precisely that for us to exist and have this communication today, right? So is it all just a coincidence? Is it part of a plan? Like these things used to, I guess trouble is not the right word, but they used to sometimes keep me awake, even as a child.
Yeah.
Right? Like especially when I was in high school, when I was introduced to the world of nuclear physics, modern physics, and learning about Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. It was mind blowing. The first time I learned about Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, I could not sleep, um, and the implications of that in our real life. I was extremely attracted to theoretical physics, and that is what I would have normally done. That is what I want to do. But at that time, until that time, like I guess even now, maybe things have changed. But being a doctor was a big deal in Nepal. Like it was a hugely prestigious thing, and yeah, my dad told me that, and it was highly competitive. My dad told me that why don't you just take the entrance test? Like I know that you want to do physics, you can do physics, but just prove it to yourself that if you wanted to become a doctor, you could have been a doctor. I said, okay, might as well take the test. So I took the entrance exam, and there were like 13,000 students competing for 42 seats at the time. So you would have to be top 42 among 13,000, 14,000 applicants. You can say my good luck, you can say my bad luck. I stood first in that exam.
Yeah.
So and then suddenly I was in news, I was in media, I was everywhere. People were asking me, oh, what type of doctor you want to be, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly, I guess I was trapped. Like
Yeah.
I could not now say that, no, I just took it for fun.
Yeah.
Now but my love for physics did not fade away. So even when I was doing medical school, I was actually teaching physics in high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is a very rare thing to do, I guess. A medical student teaching high school physics.
Yeah. I mean, having a job in general is
Yeah,
a lot in medical school.
yeah, and my students liked it to the extent that I ended up writing a book on physics. which is the most popular book for medical engineering entrance exams in Nepal.
Really?
Yeah. Um, and like even now, one of my like favorite hobbies is to just grab a book on physics and like when I'm flying in planes, yeah, I don't like working in oncology when I'm traveling.
Yeah.
Like I know some people make slides in planes, some people read papers, but I usually don't do that. I don't feel like doing it.
Yeah. Take a break and
Yeah,
transition
at
to
least that's my
physics
time
and
to
computing.
be
Yeah.
myself, right?
Yeah.
And physics is my first love. Yeah, I hate that nowadays, even flying is not so much fun because you can stay connected all the time and you're still texting and you're still
Yeah.
answering to emails.
Got
It
the
used to be
screen
much more fun
something.
before when you could just be yourself. And yeah, I grab a book on physics. Like right now, what I'm reading is a book called The Jaguar and the Clark. No, the Quark and the Jaguar, I guess. Yeah, the Quark and the Jaguar. The benefit for me of having so much of interest in physics and reading all those things in physics was that it taught me to be critical. It taught me to not take anything at face value. I think in medicine, in oncology, I mean, I don't think we are like serious scientists in general, because we are so much attached to our underlying philosophy or idea. We don't want to change our prior based on the face of evidence. In physics, especially, scientists are so like proper scientists that their whole goal always is to attack a principle and try to break it down, try
Okay.
to prove that this principle does not work.
Yeah.
Like even the person who proposed that equation proposed the principle themselves. So if I came up with a random equation, then the rest of my life and other colleagues, all of us will try to attack that equation and try to prove that it's wrong.
Yeah.
Because that's only how you discover new things in physics. Like you try to prove it false from every possible angle and you can't. And then after getting tired, you accept it as truth. But if it fails even in a couple of situations, then you have broken it down. Like that's how Newton's, we went from Newtonian model of existence to the Einsteinian model because Newton's model explained almost everything. It was true, right? But when the speed was so high that it approached the speed of light, then Newtonian model broke down and we needed a new frame of equations to help us, and that's where Einstein came into place. Or photoelectric effect or the dual nature of particles. Usually, we do when I see you, I see matter, right? I don't see a wave, but that's because our mass is humongous. But if we are talking about subatomic particles like electrons, then their mass is so small, and at their level, you can appreciate the wave nature. Uh, but that won't be explained by the existing laws of Newton or whoever. So we needed newer laws, right? So that's how physics operate. You have a set of rules, you have a set of laws, principles, and that explains the universe up to some point, but you are always trying to attack it and see if it fails in this situation, if it fails in that situation, and then it fails, and then you're like, okay, it's not a universal truth anymore. It's a conditional truth. So we need some other set of laws. I think that's the approach that I want to bring to oncology, as in in oncology, I feel like we're all trying to prove something rather than disprove things.
Yeah.
We're all trying to celebrate something. We're all trying to cheerlead and be blind and say, wow, this is great. Someone said, okay, we have a new drug for this receptor. And everyone is like, wow, this is the first time we have targeted that receptor. But I, I approach it with the angle of physics. When does it not work? When
Yeah.
is it harming people? Is it even helping anyone? And now I am also into the world of cancer economics. I think, and even in my job, like that I wear several hats. Sometimes I'm working as a clinician, and I have one particular person that I need to care of in front of across the table, and all that matters to me is how to make this person's life better and longer. But sometimes I'm working with the governments or institutions where I'm wearing a population level hat and I'm thinking about, is this the best use of our taxpayers' money,
Yeah.
or what are we sacrificing that for? Or in general, if we do that at a population level, are we saving more lives or are we harming more lives? There are always those trade-offs,
Yeah.
right? And so like what physics taught me is to be a proper scientist, and what
Yeah.
proper scientist to me is to be not attached with anything at all,
Yeah.
not even your own philosophy, not even your own biases. And you see anything, you try to attack it and try to prove it wrong. And if you fail to prove it wrong, then only you accept it. And that's, in fact, the whole idea about p-value and null hypothesis too. You do an experiment, you start with the null hypothesis, which is exactly opposite of what you want to prove. You want to prove that the drug is better. Your null hypothesis is that this drug is not good. This drug is like placebo. And then you fail to
disprove it, so
yeah.
then you accept
So
it. Yeah.
that is how science should function, not
Yeah.
just when you are calculating p-value, but also when you are thinking as a scientist.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, I never would have made that connection because physics is not my forte. But that's a really
Yeah,
interesting
but
point of view.
in Buddhism, they have the philosophy of non-attachment, right? I'm not a Buddhist, by the way, but I'm not anything. I'm like, I don't mean this as a religious sermon, but in Buddhism, they have the philosophy of non-attachment. So the idea is that you should not get attached to anything at all. And they say that the final impediment in that journey to being aware is that people become non-attached to everything, but finally they are still attached to the idea of non-attachment. So that's like the final frontier, right? You are claiming yourself to be non-attached, but that means you are still attached to the idea of being non-attached.
Yeah.
And in science, in oncology, I see that people are so attached to their hypothesis. People ask me like, how do I do what I do? As in, if you look at my research, then I'm looking at several tumor types together. I'm trying to make cross trial comparisons. I'm trying to learn from what we have learned from pancreatic cancer and see if it matches with the experience in breast cancer or glioblastoma. The problem is, I think today, most of us are so focused on a small niche of research that we are focusing on one particular tree and we are forgetting the forest, right? If you have spent your whole life to study, I don't know, let's say EGFR receptor, then for you, everything is related to EGFR receptor. And you can't see anything beyond that, right? But it's not just about one particular receptor and how you block it or how you overcome the resistance to it. I want to take a broader eye view, a bird's eye view of how, and that's important for a population level research or policy planning, is that you can't, like if you are a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So I don't want to be a hammer, and I want to take a bird's eye view picture. If a hammer is needed, if there is a real nail, then yes, the hammer is needed and I want to hit the nail. But if it is something else that only looks like nail but is not a nail, then probably it will break if you hammer it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making good analogy or not. But
I understand
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So the audience should know that none of this is planned. I told Claire specifically not to prepare any questions or not to think about this interview beforehand. And that's what I'm planning to do with other people who I'm going to interview in the future as well. I'm not going to give any questions beforehand. I want it to be a free-flowing conversation so that none of us are prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good place to end. We've been yapping for quite a while. But yeah. Thank you so much for having me on this first episode.
Thank you so much for arranging this.
Yeah.
You are the person behind it. Are you excited about the future episodes?
I am. Yeah. I had a lot of fun, and I think that this is going to be a very meaningful podcast because I think what you have to say is, of course, meaningful. So, and then you inviting people that you think are also influential. Like, I'm very interested to see who you invite and what I can learn from them. And yeah, I think it's going to be great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us.